that one off the board. The red side shouldn't be too shocking here, as the Caitlyn does get taken away. See if they want to use the third to try to target something out against one of the members of Ever8, but for now seems like it might just be standard moving forward. See if they want to take that Kalista off the board next.
Yeah, leaving Kalista up has been a little bit more of a trend recently, as teams are happy to take Tristana into it and largely profit from a good laning matchup. So there's always the chance Kalista goes unbanned. Duel has had some success on the Kalista, 2 match wins on that already, so may just want to go standard and ban out the Zac and Kalista with the final bans. Ever8's focused onto Jin. Big question to me is if they just want Malrang to jump on Elise, because Umti's best performing champion of the season is the Elise. It certainly will be taken on the red side, but when we do see Zac, Caitlyn, and Kalista red side bans, invariably it's been a first pick Elise.
Well, final here from the side of Ever8 is going to be the Galio, so taking that one off the board. Don't want to have to deal with that in the mid lane, or even in top, as we've recently seen it.
There you go, Jin will ban away the Elise, so happy to give up Kalista, and they don't even accept it as a pick for Umti. That's a bit surprising to me, showing very low priority on Kalista, not wanting to trade it for the Elise. So it just will be a Kalista first pick, almost certainly for the side of Ever8.
Go ahead, lock that one in there for Duel in the bottom lane. Pressure's banned away, so we'll see what they want to pair it with. Maybe something like
Braum would be pretty tanky front line you could select in the first round here with almost no cost.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. And also have the Braum take away from the bottom lane. Get rid of a bit of protection there for that Kalista if Ella wants to run it. But for now, it's just going to be the Gragas. Very standard lock-in here for the side of Jin. And maybe just the top and jungle coming through here as the Kled is being hovered for so on.
Be a very early Kled pick.
Yeah.
And it's also against Keen, who largely opts into carries, so unlikely to be the choice. And they'll also look like they're going to move past Teddy's Tristana that he looked great on, actually, in recent times in their last series as well. So just going to jump on the Xayah, who for sure is a high-priority AD carry, but specifically into the Kalista, a surprise, and the Gragas paired with it. Gragas is really good to potentially disengage the hard engage Ever8's likely to select with the Kalista. So honestly, interesting to see such high Gragas priority in this particular series, but against Kalista comps that largely do go 3-4 tanks and a Kalista, not a bad choice by any means.
Well, Maokai will be locked up. We saw the hover over it, but just goes right through here for Ever8. Could be top lane, probably going to be jungle. See what they want to bring out.
And do they just go Rakan for the famous Korean duo of Kalista Rakan that's oh so popular? Now, when you see Gragas, you do think Orianna as a potential ball carrier available. And speaking of ball carrier and jungle or top duos, Maokai Orianna, a blast from the past in its own. Not necessarily a denial pick away from Kuzan, who's played 5 games of the Ori. We've seen higher and higher Orianna priority recently. Samsung first picking it over many other available champions, largely as a denial. Kuzan could just go Corki into it and be pretty comfortable. These double AD comps they've been running frequently in recent times have largely been up and down for Jin. Now, there isn't going to be a very strong backline AD carry like a Kog'Maw that MVP ran against double AD when those two teams faced last week, but double AD seems to be the recent identity of Jin.
Well, then we'll go back over to that 1/5 game on the Corki here for Kuzan. And Accepted looking to have his 10th on that Orianna. As we shift our focus back over to the top lane, where Jax is going to be the first ban away here from the side of Jin. Want to take that out of the hands of Keen in the top lane.
Have to expect he'll be going carries. This also opens up the flexibility of Gragas top as an option. We've seen Gragas kind of deal with Jax pretty poorly in that lane.
One of the ones that we have open at the moment is actually the Jace, which has made it quite a ways through the draft so far.
So our most famous resident Jace, Khan, pull off an amazing escape, but also lose his undefeated streak on the Jace when Longzhu lost yesterday.
I mean, I feel like if this makes it through the draft, if it's not banned away by Ever8, we could just see it locked in for Jin and then have the Gragas go into the jungle for Umti.
It'd be a bit of a worry, though, because while I can see it, and you look at the comp, okay, double AD and the Jace, so almost triple AD, Jin has struggled with their early to mid-game win condition following, and it's the sort of comp that does fall apart as a game goes on longer and longer. So certainly a real chance of it Trundle taken away actually by Ever8 is interesting, but may suggest that Maokai top is going to be a thing. Be keen moving away from what we know and love him for, and with Ever8 especially, you like to wait till the last possible second because they're willing to play Jace jungle. Anything can happen.
That's very true. Already saw that from Malrong there in the promotion tournament. But it's going to be the Rakan locked in for Jin Air. So Lover's bot lane going over to them. Braum has made it all the way through. And seems like the most likely snatch up here to have maximum lockdown and knock-ups with the Fate's Call and that Glacial Fissure.
Very low priority placed on the Braum by Jin Air. Happy to take the Rakan for a bit of engage on their own. Do have Rakan and Gragas for that particular side. Won't be locked in just yet.
Okay.
And we now have two fantastic ball carriers and basically a knock-up party for Orianna and Kalista to do their thing. Very duel-focused draft, though. Sure, Orianna can do work as well, but given Duel's struggles as an AD carry in a very stacked AD carry league, and I have to see Duel actually be able to pull off the 2v2 with Ella and not just fall down to Teddy and Snowflower in lane.
All right, well, the Braum will be locked in. So J4, Maokai. We'll see where those are going to go. Like you said, the J4 in the jungle has been rising in priority. Started by Malrong. So we could just see that flipped around and have that Maokai go to the top lane. The bans suggest that that is going to be the case. And Jin Air looking to go for a bit of a safer pick here. Something with some range that can survive the matchup either which way it goes. So looking at the Gnar for so on. We'll be locked in.
Not 100% clear what he'll be facing, though, with the Trundle ban. You do think Maokai may be a top laner, but with Keen especially, you would expect it to be Jarvan top. So very intriguing to see what they go with. Gnar is a famous lane counter to the Maokai. Has a bit more of a struggle with Jarvan just because of the extra damage, meaning he can be taken down if ganked while exhausted, not being able to go over to his Mega Gnar. So we'll find out that information at 20 seconds. Looking likely for it to be Maokai top. And at the end of the day, very solid draft from Ever8. If this was KT Rolster, you'd be really happy with what they put together. But actually being able to pull it off for Ever8 has been a struggle. It is a move from them. They're no longer running 4 carries, basically, and a support. They do have initiation. They do have scaling. They do have a tanky front line. So it is more of an adaptation to 7-14 than we've seen so far by the side of Ever8 winners.
Yeah, just unfortunately coming a little bit too late into this split. But, you know, this would be a nice time to go ahead, pick up a victory, shut down Jin Air's hopes, drag somebody down with them, I suppose, is kind of how that one would go. But they have to pull off the initiation. Everybody has to be working cohesively on the side of Ever8 if they want to have that big wombo potential with the dive-in from the Maokai and the J4 with that shockwave on top.
Yeah, cohesion definitely not something we'd level too much at Ever8, so it'd be a movement forward if they can do it. Jin Air, this series is so important to them. They want to win comfortably, and it all starts here.
Yeah, they want to win with the 2-0, but let's go ahead and see who's going to be winning Game 1 as we dive onto the Rift for the first time today. Ever8 versus Jin Air Greenwings. Jin Air fans definitely making up for it with their volume. Bit of a slow day here, Wednesday afternoon in Korea, as the fans come drizzling into the audience.
And we are sandwiched between 2 massive match days. Yesterday's very big Longzhu versus KT series, and then the Telecom War tomorrow. So if you want a day away from League of Legends, it seems like some fans may have taken today to be that day because you're not missing tomorrow, and you certainly didn't want to miss yesterday.
You know, it started off so well, but it's kind of hard to call that match yesterday a series.
What are Teddy and Snowflower doing?
Just spamming.
Where's my cowbell?
They're ruffling their feathers.
Where's my cowbell?
Alistar was banned away, my friend.
Today was a day where cowbell will be helpful.
See, that's why I don't own birds. I feel like they're just way too noisy.
Is that the only reason, Achilles?
You have to throw that. Well, they're also messy, but I also own a cat.
Yes. I was thinking there was actually stacking reasons. It was a bit of a 3-hit passive there of reasons.
I mean, there's an outside chance that they would get along, but I'm not willing to take that risk.
I'd actually love to see how your cat would interact with a bird.
She'd probably be scared of it, honestly.
Yeah, she'd just ignore it, probably.
If she sees a bug, she'll chase after it, but she won't try to catch it.
Maybe she's trying to make friends. Very deep freeze enacted by Teddy here. trying to pull the lane. It's one of the reasons why we saw lots of lane wards, especially around Worlds last year, was to deny lanes being pulled in that way and stopping slow pushes from happening. So getting away with a lane pull like that is actually something we don't see very commonly in 2v2 lanes. So wanted to point it out there.
Well, you have to go ahead. Peel back as the wave gets shoved forward here by Duel and Ella. Should be slow going for quite some time, at least until we see a couple levels coming through from those bot lane pairings.
They kind of have to overcommit to the lane when they see the freeze, and then it ends up being in a very safe spot for the side of Jin Air. So Jin Air do win out there, even if not going to be quite the same mechanics. Watch for Morung, because of course from level 2 onwards has gank pressure. Put a lot of his mana into farming, so we'll need the blue buff before he goes for his first gank.
At least has CC in 2 of his lanes. Mid lane going to be a bit harder, given that Corki's going to have that Valkyrie, but Keen, probably going to be the easiest one that he can try to gank for, what with the Twisted Advance going in, locking down, so on, especially when it's in that mini Gnar form. So maybe we see an earlier visitation up to this top lane once they start clearing through the jungle.
Probably be some damage queries, even in mini Gnar form, given that Maokai does even less damage than he ever did before at level 2.
I guess it's about the timing, because if he can get the if he can get the double hop, then he's pretty much out of there. And then you don't even force the flash.
Minion wave, kind of have to ensure there's not arriving, otherwise, as you say, gives him a very large range escape without even having to use flash. When it comes to lanes to gank, really mid lane is the happy one from a Jin Air perspective. Damage from Corki and the Orianna. One of the more gankable people in what is a frustrating game to gank.
Well, right now, Duel and Ella are going to be surrounded as MT's on the backside clearing out the Krugs, but you can see that they don't have any interest, no way to really get in underneath this turret, so just going to be going back over to his side of the jungle. They had a nice little invade. Jin Air continues shoving it in these waves.
The Deadly Plumage getting a lot of value for lane control. Specifically when you have the Rakan support. Ability to get so much value out of the W does mean you get a bit more lane control than other Xayah lanes, where largely you're happy to be pushed in and then try to turn around with an all-in when the Blade Caller when you get a gank. Oh. No defensive wards to spot out. Actually was spotted out. Just around the wrap just there was Jarvan.
Yeah. River is well. Gonna have that ward that expires. You can see the question mark ping from MT just in case that Malrong was pushing into the jungle. I'll just scout out that he has gone back. And maybe poke his head out here into the mid lane, but no real setup for a gank onto this Orianna or onto the Corki yet.
For a week of hot fire, we are starting off with a little bit of a whimper here, Achilles. Just a bit of a quiet start here.
You know, something told me that that was going to happen when I looked at the match today. The second one could be much more interesting for sure early on in the game.
I mean, MVP could go 4 matches undefeated and beat a Freaker in the second match.
That'd be
Jin Air
absolutely
fans
crazy.
certainly want to hear that news.
Paid by Jin Air.
I don't think Jin Air has Steve money.
They definitely don't.
They're backed by Korean Air, yet somehow they don't have Steve money. Mickey's in North America.
Yeah, just arrived recently, so I can't wait to see him play in NALCS this weekend.
Literally one of the things I wanted most when I was casting Rebels Anarchy when I just got to Korea was to see Mickey at an international event against some of the members of the NALCS and work out where he stood. And I don't really get dissuaded by some of his struggles in the first round robin. He was, of course, just runner-up to Crown in our overall regular season MVP in spring season. So to see him actually line up, of course there's lots of other variables. He really doesn't speak much English. That's going to be a query on him. But neither did Piglet.
Yeah, that's
I guess
true.
they can speak Korean to each other. We'll see how the mid lane and AD carry synergy is for them.
They definitely spoke pretty comparable English, I guess, when they first got to North America. But having spoken to both of them very shortly upon their arrival, I would say that Piglet spoke a little bit more. Trying to speak to Mickey while he was here in Korea was difficult, to say the least.
And realistically, it'll be interesting to see if they play him just to kind of vindicate the purchase or whether they just leave him for next season. Kind of 2 ways you can approach it, given that Liquid doesn't have much to play for. But we can afford to talk about that series because so far this one is not delivering too much action. You look at the comps and decide who that favor is. It's worth knowing that Ever8 does have the easier to execute draft. They have very, very reliable initiation for the Orianna and undeniable power at 2 items on Kalista. So when you look at Jin, sure, there's things they do well. 2-item Gnar running down a short lane against Maokai absolutely is powerful. Very big spike when it comes to sieging when Xayah and Corki get their item spikes. They have good dive as well, but the reliable comp usually does win out when there's equal power levels mid lane.
Yeah, nice flash away there by Septon. Keep himself safe. Thought maybe we'd see Empty try to chase in with a flash of his own. But they just get a little bit of damage down onto the Orianna. Level 6 for the Gragas, so no explosive cast to try to knock him back in. So he'll just stay alive for the moment, but now that Empty is very close to hitting that level 6 point, could just see him return very swiftly into that mid lane.
That's where the reliability of the ganks will certainly go up. Keen definitely wants to Bramblefest as fast as possible in this game, as 3 auto attackers, including the Gnar, want to wail away on him. Cutting down healing can be very powerful. Malrang spotted out, but level 6 now. Doesn't have lane priority in mid, so invading is quite risky, and Umti certainly knows where he is.
Just going to be having a bit of a vision war here around the mid lane. Kuzan just continues to push in the waves. Snowflower going on a little bit of a roam. Saw the back from Duel, and Ella feels that freedom to go ahead and establish some vision in this lower half of the jungle, so we'll be able to spot out Malrang as he makes his way around.
Blue buff donations and all that jazz happening in this particular game.
Yep. Just the most excitement.
You need a couple of palette cleansers for what's going to be a fun week, and then we roll straight into playoffs.
That's true. I mean, there's also that that sort of effect where it's like we have all these great games happening this week, so everything else just seems like it's a bit duller. But in reality, maybe it's not. Any other week, maybe it would be a more exciting matchup. Maybe because it doesn't hold to that standard.
If you ask me if I'd prefer a Fiesta or a game like this where both teams are kind of doing the right thing, but it's not necessarily easy on the ice, I'd probably prefer the latter. Maybe why I left China and came to Korea. But so far, no big mistakes are made. No team really needs to be acting on 0 items. The lanes are not the easiest to gain. Return gang to mid lane will happen eventually, although this time it's actually about Malrang.
Flag and drag comes through, but Kuzan still has that package available, so doesn't even have to use it. Doesn't have to use the flash either. Just a little bit of damage. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, a bit of a back and forth coming through here as Teddy goes low, jumps up with the Feather Storm to keep himself alive. Doesn't quite get the feathers in onto Duel, but they take Ella dangerously low. Fate's Call coming through, as is the teleports from both sides. Someone arriving with the Mega Gnar. Knocks him into the wall, now looking for Keen. Will get popped back with that explosive cast, and he's going to go down. The Kitty's going through. Will not be able to do enough to lock somebody down here for Ella to get back in. So or for Duel to get back in, rather. So going to be a 2 for 0 here for Jin Air to start off the game. 10 minutes in, and they'll go ahead and transition this into a Cloud Drake.
And the awareness from Keen in terms of his teleport, and also understanding that Umti was right behind him, was certainly not the best. This is what happens when you see carry-oriented top lane players. What was it, 2 weeks ago we were seeing Keen solo kill down Shy's Trundle and look great with his mechanics, but Maokai is much less about mechanics and much more about teleport awareness, about map calls, about macro play. Not necessarily things that Ever8 have been well known for this season, and even with the Maokai, even with the reliability of the ganks, Ever8 actually put them further behind with a Maokai teleport.
Yeah, I gotta say, Soan TPing in, had the Mega Gnar ready to go, already playing better than Marin the last time out.
Marin's Gnar games, the funniest things.
I would say that the most depressing games, actually.
I just am amused endlessly by how many things happen around him locking in Gnar, because he's really good at left-clicking the enemy tank. Not a high skill cap thing to do, but very often weird things like Spirit donating double buffs will happen, and just becomes a weirder game than he would have intended at pick ban.
It's like the buffs get donated, and then Marin just sort of starts inting into the enemy team.
I mean, there was the time his duo lane just kept dying 2v2, so he had to go 1v2 and get turret dive doing that as well by the fed 2v2 lane. Oh, Marin games on Gnar. We get Marin in our second series, so who knows? Maybe we'll get some more Marin Gnar.
You know, Marin, he thought that he escaped from hell. He got back from China, but every now and then he slips back in. The portal opens. Good God.
LGD Marin. Oh, Jinair, following the plan, following the checklist. No mistakes so far. I am starting to roll in. The Essence Reaver already complete from Teddy. We got the extra kill involved. Then just 2v2 against a Kalista lane might actually just take the turret, which is not a trivial thing for a Xayah lane to pick up against a Kalista lane.
Going pretty well. As a Balrog will be coming over the wall here. Going to match Umti in the bottom lane, but Ella has already been chunked out yet again. Luzon's on the roam. Doesn't have the package, but has the faster push down, but seems like that's just going to shove them back away from the turret, so Jinair can pick up the first brick.
Teddy able to be disrespectful at level 1 by walking up and setting up the slow push, and then basically push in the face of Kalista and Braum the entire laning phase with no penalty. One time something happened, it ended up being a team-wide play that went the way of Jinair Greenwings, and picking up the 2v2 solo turret gold accelerates the build from Xayah, gets her online, and it also means that when we hit the so often discussed 2-item mark for Kalista, there's going to be not necessarily parity in power level, but a very decent power level from the Xayah, and also the threat of even more power coming earlier than expected.
Well, we'll see that rotation up towards the top side. Teddy and Snowflower just going to be on that rotation. Push up that way. Ella and Malrong moving up to try to match this one, as Keen is going to be stuck there for a little while. Doesn't have the TP, doesn't have an opportunity to back, as the turret is quite low and needs to be sticking around for the moment as he waits for the rest of the squad to arrive.
Keen was laning against a physical damage dealer, so at least he is equipped to deal with what is now.
He does have a Glacial Shroud and a Tabby ready to go.
Probably going to be working towards the Righteous Glory. That's been by far the big pick for top lane tanks and helps Maokai initiate, which is what he's all about. No surprise there, and the duo lane is matched in top side. The Drake off the board. No reason for Jinair to stick around bot side with no safety and the ability to push. Double control ward is good to see from the side of Ever8 in their red side jungle, which means that even Nara doesn't want to overextend too far on the bot side. Now all about 4 or 5 members threatening around the top lane turret, so smart from Jinair to accelerate their lead. They can fall back to a bonus objective because they're playing the top side, which would represent the Rift Herald. That would be just the best thing possible for Jinair, as so far so good.
They'll just go ahead, they'll start this one up. He comes over the back wall, will show himself, I do believe, onto that Scuttle Crab, but even then, Ever8, what can they really do to try to stop this one?
I would have leveled a lot of the same commentary to the MVP series, and then it all kind of changed on a dime when the preferential initiation was found in Game 2, and then Game 3 ended up also being a bit of a nerve-wracker where Jinair were ahead for part of it. So far so good on the side of Jinair. They haven't really opened up any opportunities for Ever8, but Jinair aren't quite as clinical as some of our other teams in the league. So even though so far it has been what they've needed to do, it has been playing to their win conditions, with the reliability of Ever8's comp, if they can maintain item parity, which already 4,000 gold at 15 minutes, that's not necessarily something to assume easily, but if they can continue to pull it late, there's always a chance for Ever8 to turn around the game.
I mean, what they need is they need a Jinair-esque style draw out on the game, try to delay as long as humanly possible, 35, 40 plus minutes, perhaps to get themselves into this one, but the towers are going to be accelerated here. Rift Herald will be called out. A wave for a little while, so this is actually a bit of an odd one here for Jinair. Just want to get as much damage as possible onto this turret, I suppose, but they will not be able to follow up for the finish on the tier 1 yet.
Trinity Force Corki and the Rift Herald meant they had to invest multiple members around mid-side.
Just odd timing.
Wasn't ideal, like you say, and didn't have advanced vision to get information on rotations. Ideally, you have top lane pushing in at the same time into an inner turret, so there's a cost for them to defend with 4 members, but no cost means the Rift Herald does the minimum you'd expect in that scenario.
I almost feel like they should have just rotated to the bottom side, because, I mean, Umti by himself could have just gone down there, alongside Zoan. Had the wave moved up, could have got quite a bit of damage down onto the tier 2. And Keen would not really be able to take out that Rift Herald very swiftly by himself.
I mean, my read on it was that the moment they realized the duo lane was there, keep Corki mid lane, and at minimum, contest the control wards or invade for vision on the red side jungle, just because even having 3 extra members, you weren't realistically going to be able to kill the turret through the solid wave clear of Orianna, and all the flashes being up meant no dive was going to happen. So looking for a bonus objective, like you say, whether it was damage on an inner turret or vision, was the percentage play to make, but not there.
Shockwave connects in onto Kuzan, but not going to be any follow-up.
So Delayal Shockwave, just trying to get rid of the minion wave. Obviously no kill pressure. Delayal, that's not a word.
It's, you know what? You can just make up however many words you want, Papa Smithy, because...
I mean, I already have on this 2.5-year stint I've had on this broadcast. Irregardless was one of them.
Well, that one's an improper, I believe.
I can't remember the other one. It'll come to me eventually, but it was really offensively bad, actually. When you talk a lot for a living, turns out sometimes you mishmash words and it comes out really bad.
Yep. Start mixing them together. Mine's still equivalate. That's still.
Oh, equivalate.
That's still the one that I invented.
Monty really didn't like that one.
No, he didn't. Until I referred to it as a Harry Potter spell.
Wasn't that also one of your first broadcasts?
It was. Yeah, that was maybe one of the first times that I cast with Monte Cristo last season in spring.
And
when Jin Air made it to playoffs.
Yes, that's true. I had to actually look over those standings and remember that Samsung just missed out on playoffs to the Afrika Freaks.
6th place.
6th, 4th, then 2nd at Worlds, then 2nd in the regular season. I don't know if you follow those trends. Maybe Samsung ends up somehow winning the regular season. That would actually follow their recent trend. Could still happen. KT win the telecom war. Sorry, if SKT win the telecom war tomorrow and Samsung beat Longzhou on the last day, very real chance Samsung's first.
Yeah. The whole top 3 is pretty interchangeable at the moment.
Which is so high.
SKT are locked.
It's so high because we've had so many summer seasons where it really was decided. 2 years ago, SKT only lost a single series in summer to CJ Entus. And were dominating first place. We had so many seasons where Rox was already locked in weeks before. True story, true story. That was with Trick and Max playing, you'll remember as well. But then we get seasons like this where literally the last day may decide everything. The last series of the last day. Super high.
Be a crazy finish, and then we just have to wait an additional week to start off the playoffs. And 4th versus 5th place match going to be taking place on the 12th.
Has the playoff schedule been announced?
It has.
Nice.
It's been for quite some time, and I believe I don't think the tickets are on sale yet, but they should be rather soon.
You guys are wondering, OGN will be doing the wild card match, the semi-final, and the grand final, so the effective quarterfinal does go the side of the Gangnam Stadium, but will be 3 Saturdays in a row starting from, not this Saturday, but next Saturday will be the playoffs. So 26th will be the grand final, 26th of August.
Yeah, so week-long break for us from the finish before that wild card starts. It'll be on Saturday, then the first quarterfinal on Tuesday, actually. So it's only going to be a few days later, then Saturday, and then Saturday again. So week difference between those goes.
Kind of surreal.
Nice evenly spread for the OGN days.
Kind of surreal when we come in, get our makeup on, do rehearsal, and then it's a best of 3, and that's the only thing that happens, but that's how the wild card match day goes. Most likely to be SKT versus Afrika, although today could rewrite that story. To kind of lose the fact that Jin Air really are still in with a chance, even if it is a remote one. So far, way ahead in gold of Ever8, who really haven't done a proactive thing in 21 minutes. Whereas Jin Air have largely done what they need to do, and yet, because of the draft, because of where the meta is at, you can never really fully count out Ever8.
Have that surprise potential, but unfortunately hasn't been working out so well for them here today, as it's just been slow goings and they're falling a little bit further behind. I mean, it's not the worst at the moment. Getting ready for, well, 6K. Okay, it's a little bit worse than I thought, but It's not growing rapidly. It's been pretty steady from the side of Jin Air. So it hasn't been surges forward.
It hasn't really been the tempo of how the game is being played isn't really matching the gold. Sometimes we see the tempo be really high, but the gold lead be smaller than expected. And this is one of the games where the gold lead is quite massive, but Jin Air aren't turning it into, say, Gragas and Corki invading the blue side jungle, taking out control wards, and forcing Ever8 to react to things like Baron forces. When it comes to vision control, when it comes to control ward lines, and let's say Jin Air do have a lot of control wards in their inventory. Everyone has one. Right now, there's not a control ward plan. That means that Ever8 could breathe. Maybe this will be the choke moment where the breathing will stop, and they'll actually be able to force a face check from the side of Ever8.
Fighting around, something like the Baron could be very deadly for Jin Air, so they have to be very careful in approaching those objectives. Malrong going forward. Not going to be finding anything with the flag and drag.
That's actually Fate's Call used.
Yeah, Fate's Call coming through. Teddy will dodge the knock up there with that Feather Storm, keeping himself safe. Snowflower looks for the grand entrance. Doesn't have to pop up, however, so they will just go their separate ways. No summoner spells blown on either side.
So a lot of initiation available. Someone's losing trades with double laning items off the map on the bot side. May have taken some turret shots, couldn't tell. Gnar ultimate was used in all of it. But when it comes to a potential play around Baron, Jin Air will have to get the Mega Gnar up, and that's one of the little factors that makes it a bit harder. The less reliability we spoke about in regards to Jin Air's plays is that pushing into an inner turret and starting Baron is about as cut and dry as can be. But when you have such a difference in impact,
it's coming through, looking for Septet. He's going to flash to the side, keeps himself alive with that heal, but now Malrong might be in a spot of bother. Just have the flash. He'll get popped back, and he is going to go down. Flag and drag through. Maybe gets it. Actually, the flash at the last second. The rocket not going to connect, but Kuzan, he does have that empowered auto attack. Does take down the J4. So Septet out with his life, but Malrong falls.
They do have control wards down, so let's see if Jin Air will back off to Baron. You see the pings on it. So1 right now is exhausted, so it won't be that much of a factor if he teleports in, but the smite is down for Ever8. The control wards are down. Ever8 seems to admit that this is going to happen. Spotted out by a Vision Trinket, but that's all, and Baron down to 4,000.
Well, it's going to be the TP coming through here from So1. Has peeled back away from the turret. We're not seeing it from Keen. He's not going to join in. And actually, So1, he'll just cancel it. Got the call from his squad. They say, you know what, we have it. They're not pushing in. So goes ahead, gets the refund. The lower cooldown on that TP. Still be wreaking havoc in the bottom lane, and now he's got Baron-empowered minions.
And this is the part where you say, okay, Jin Air, you've hit exactly what you needed to do at 24 minutes. The lull in the game is gone. Twitch chat, I know what you're going to do now. But they're just going to return to wave clear. It's another game where Ever8 seem to kind of admit defeat, accept the hand they've been dealt, a very lean hand, only 2 match victories. But Ever8 go back to wave clear, and Jin Air have the prize they were looking for, which is the Baron buff.
Now they can actually use this to go ahead and accelerate the game. Oh boy! Just noticed that it's been 3 Cloud Drakes in a row. They'll go ahead, snatch that one up. We'll see what we get after that. So.
We get super fast rotations, Achilles.
All right. I'm going to bet it's probably an Ocean Drake. Let's see. No, Mountain. Okay, well that's something a little bit more useful at this point in the game.
They can run really fast to kill turrets faster.
This is true.
Synergy.
This is very true. Good luck catching Kuzan. Look at him.
He doesn't have the package for the ultimate. Just don't even bother trying to gank him. Now they have Baron buff minions, the laning items we talked about. So1's like, screw it. I guess I'm a carry. I'm building Blade the Ruin King.
Yeah.
To be fair, we did have Cuvee building rapid fire cannon and full carry Gnar, so this is actually quite meta in Korea, all things considered.
Somehow, it's hit that point. I am curious as to how So1 was losing those trades a bit earlier on. At least now he does have the sustain, but I wonder how much of it had to do with the Bramble Vest.
Something more than 0. Bramble Vest so powerful against auto attackers like Gnar, who's ignoring Maokai.
Okay, well, that's just going to be the whiff. Snowflower a bit too fast. Will not get locked down. Thanks, Cloud Drake.
Very preferential trade there for the side of Jin Air. Just a threat. Wasn't even the quickness used to take that turret.
So what is actually the deal that we've been having lately? So many of our Orianna players have been whiffing these shockwaves. BDD, Pawn, Faker coming through, Faker as well. Like all of these guys that have been usually very much on point with the Orianna, maybe something excluded from that regard, have been really suffering as far as those shockwaves go. Was there like a ninja nerf or something?
It's interesting you bring it up because at MSI, Faker was getting people with the width, and that's just a faker shockwave. It's got greater width, and then this season it's been different. So if Riot does release a patch note with a stealth change, then wouldn't be that surprised. Like you say, it's been conspicuous how wide they've been going. So teleports in with the package, so we will see Turbo Corki when he gets out of combat.
Yeah.
I saw 510 movement speed. I think he even goes faster than that. 590 for a second there.
Yeah, I saw that just spike up.
590 was with Cloud Drake, 510 was the Phage prop.
564 right there. So it's, yeah, it's spiking.
We gotta find our excitement where we can get it, OGN Legion.
Yeah, getting excited about that Corki movement speed. Because he'll probably never use the package. Maybe a bit too risky. Oh, maybe we'll find the opening here. Yeah, just go in. Cuts off. Septic gets popped to the side. And that's going to be a massive shockwave coming through here for Septic. Cataclysm thrown down as Teddy's trying to fire away, trying to trade back some kills. But they're all just going to go down. So on. The only one still alive, but even then, it's just for the moment. The final rend comes through. An ace completed by Ever8, only losing the Orianna and Jin Air. Completely go way overboard, and now Ever8 have a way back into the game.
And it's just like we said, the reliability for Ever8 is there. Sure, they didn't get the start, but Jinner just open up and offer themselves as tribute to Ever8 winners. Please, please, kill us all. Exactly what happens there. Very clean kill. No threat onto Duel, and Duel had the 2 items, and even with a gold disadvantage, Kalista Ren sets are a thing.
It's like they were suddenly overtaken by that weird pollen-carried disease thing that was in the happening that makes everybody just kill themselves. Jin Air just suddenly had that, and they just dove in.
They didn't need to dive the turret, but then 3 of them get into the shockwave, and Duel never has any threat onto him at all. The only skill shot that hits him is the flag from his own team as the Jarvan comes in, laps it up, and then by the end, sure, they dump a little bit of damage into him, but almost no threat onto Duel the entire time. And Ever8 winners, they're still way behind. They probably will still lose, but Jin Air Greenwings gave them a chance they did not need to.
Oh, God. I shouldn't have said that Kuzan wasn't going to use the package. That's what ruined it, because I cursed him. Oh, dear.
Confirm Seth knows nothing about packages.
Nope. But unfortunately, I've seen The Happening. It's awful. It's actually one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
It's quite a big assertion. I haven't seen the movie myself.
It's quite terrible. Oh. So I'm going to get found. Jumps to the side. Phase call will come through. They'll pop him up and get the concussive blows rolling through. And, well, he built for lane. So sustain is not going to do a damn thing. Takes Duel down to half HP, but he's going to get rendered to death.
The MVP losses for Jin Air were not quite as stark as this one, but the gold lead has certainly constricted from what was over around 12,000, I believe, at maximum, maybe even more, to just 8,000 at this point, which is still massive given the 30 minutes, as you use some inverted commas from Generation Y stuff going there off broadcast. But still, Jin Air in a great spot, and yet you see the weaknesses that mean that maybe they don't deserve the 5th spot that for now is still very difficult for them to claim.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is like Jin Air, you know, maybe they do win their way in. Maybe they do take that 5th place spot. They have to play against SK Telecom. Sure, they got the 2-0 the last time, but SKT was really struggling on the new patch.
Why does Teddy have 2 rapid-fire cannons?
Why did Deft have 2 rapid-fire cannons?
Well, we confirmed that was a mistake.
We thought that we understood. And
you
then
don't get double energized. It's not the same as if you chug 2 Red Bulls. It seems like it doesn't work the way that people reported. The Reddit detectives were wrong on that one, so really don't get why he hasn't just gone for a static shiv in this particular situation.
Chugging 2 Red Bulls is how you get your heart-skipping beats.
I wouldn't do it if I didn't need my heart-skipping beats, so it's a situational thing.
Well, Baron's back up, and Ever8 want to make a play for it.
They got good confirmation of Baron with the Ren, so there's still a chance they can take this. In the face of the enemy is hard, and so on is around 75% Narbar.
He's going to be TPing through here. Balrog going forward. As
that
flag attack, but doesn't find anything. He goes low. Teddy firing away, forces out the flash. Grand entrance from Snowflower on the backside. The fight pops up too, and Keen is just getting junked out by the Corki here in the front lines. He will go down, trying to wrap around. That'll be a halt on the Baron attempt here by Ever8. Maybe Jin Air looking for a little bit more. Snowflower pushing forward, looking for another entrance. find it here, and Malrong and the Spot of Bother will be able to flag and drag over the wall to safety, but now Jin Air getting rid of the Maokai. Do they go for the Baron? Looks like the answer is going to be yes.
The turn starts now. Malrong is super low and will complete his recall, so won't even chance a Smite Sword down. Look at this damage to Baron.
Yeah, they're shredding it. They haven't even picked up the Mountain Drake yet, so that will be the Baron going over Jin Air. Still going to be in the driver's seat. Featherstorm coming through. Dissonance hits for quite a bit of damage there from Septed over the wall, but doesn't have much more than that, so has to go ahead and peel back. Now with another Baron, Jin Air, can they get the inhibitors this time, or will they get themselves aced?
They can sell their second rapid fire cannon, so good job there. Well spotted by Teddy. Don't know what's going on. Something's happening. It's the equivalent of all our Teemo lock-ins we had last year.
Yeah.
It's the double rapid fire cannon build, so definitely less egregious and match changing.
Unfortunately, you can't sell the Teemo back, however, so this is a better spot to be in for
You
Jin
actually
Air.
can, but the value is not very high, so no point.
Is it worth more or less than a free Tyler one?
I don't know. It still seems very expensive.
I just know that you're going to take that joke every time you're presented with it.
Some people are still getting it for the first time and appreciating it, Killian.
That's true. Back to the front page again.
That's what I go for. I shoot for Reddit front page with every comment.
It's like they say, you know, shoot for the moon or whatever, and even if you miss, you land among the stars. But in reality, you're actually just dead.
Shoot for the Panther, and worst comes to worst, you end up on front page Reddit.
Nice. Get that embroidered on a pillow.
A body pillow?
Sure. With your face on it.
That could make some money. Could be a quiet little owner.
You know, I think we have a new business venture here, Papa Smithy.
Well, Jin Air's business is breaking Baron with this. Sorry, breaking the enemy base with their second Baron buff.
Breaking Baron is a TV show about Baron
going bad.
Illicit materials.
What is Baron producing in this story?
I don't know. Something weird that he could sell in Zaun or one of the other kingdoms.
Well, 3 inhibitor turrets went down at the same time, so that's pretty happy news for Jin Air. They've messed up around this scenario before, so they're trying to largely stay out of the base. Seems like cursed territory for them.
Just poking in where they can. But, yeah, this is going to be 3 inhibs going down, and the hopes of Ever8 winning game 1 pretty much stomped out unless Jin Air comes up with a magnificent throw, unlike one that we've ever seen before.
It was magnificent if you think about it. It's not actually the size of the throw, it's just the execution. Flawless execution.
Everybody go now!
I mean, everyone, like, it was, no one was guilt-free in that one. Everyone was guilty.
Oh, Kuzan, he's going to get caught. Flash forward.
Interrupt by Umti, nice stuff there.
Body slam will go ahead, knock him back. Another storm down by Teddy as the Glacial Fisher comes through.
Here comes the kiddies.
Concussive blows in onto Umti. He might fall. He will as Duel finds the kill, and he's still very healthy, just firing away. And yet again, they might have done a double kill going over to the Callista. TP will be coming back in here from Kuzan. Stun thrown down, connects in onto Keen, and he will fall. As Kuzan finds the kill. Teddy going forward, finds one, pops Ella. Now looking for a little bit more here. Septon sidestepping on the boomerang, keeping himself safe from being slowed up as Malrong goes forward. And the Rend and the Dissonance will come down. They find another kill, but they're still losing out on the Nexus turrets. And this could just be one of the sloppiest ends of a game that I think I've really ever seen in LCK as Jin Air looked to finish this one off, but it's just so on and Kuzan and so on. Maybe if he could change, maybe if he could get into that Mega Gnar form, they'd go for it, but instead they will peel back.
And the base defense for Ever8 is actually pretty decent, so it will delay the game for another 5 minutes, you'd have to think. You can see Teddy's just desperate for a front line to stand in front of him so he can do his damage. Uses both summoners greedily to try and clean up the fight, then it's killed. So far it's been his tank line diving too far and out of position. The peel for the carries hasn't been there. The Gnar ultimates in the base admittedly a lot more difficult to pull off, and in the end it is another one of those Jin Air throws over to Ever8, who accept it but are still 14,000 gold behind. 3 inhibitors down, just a single Nexus turret to their name. It still will probably be a Jin Air victory, but you can't help feeling like no one leaves this game without a blemish.
Probably would have won if he just, kept that second rapid fire cannon.
It's true.
That was the reason.
The
has nothing to do with placement or decision making.
Energizer Bunny seems to do fine with lots of energy, so
they still run those ads?
I don't know.
I mean, I haven't watched American television in a very long time.
I'm so old, Achilles. It's a very old reference. Atlas is watching this at home and is stoked about this reference.
The F-Giants are funny?
You remember that tennis ad, Atlas? You know which one I'm talking about. I am just talking to Atlas, by the way.
Yeah. No one else. Sorry, everybody in the chat.
All right, Jinair, you can find a way to bring in 3 waves of super minions and end the games. I believe in you.
That's a really bold statement.
There's only 2 at the moment.
I would like to believe in them, but I just can't. Waves being cleared out here. Duel doing his damnedest. We'll be rending away these super creeps so far. Are doing a pretty decent job, but there's going to be that third wave coming in. Engage coming through as Malrong jumps in onto Teddy Featherstorm. Keep him alive inside the Cataclysm for now, but he's going to get jumped on. Shield coming down to try to keep him in the fight, and so far it is working out, but Duel does have the Ren stacks coming through, does take him down, and now is looking for Kuzan, jumps to the side, around Snowflower, finds the double kill. Can he get the triple? The answer is gonna be yes, looking for a bit more as Malrong desperately tries to defend the turret, but he's gonna die because Soan has the double kill, but it's another near ace for Ever8 on the defense, but their Nexus is now exposed.
Jinair's reward for their solid early game is that they can throw themselves into the hands of Ever8 multiple times, and yet the Nexus is exposed. The super minions slaying Malrong after his initiation onto the no flash, no heal Teddy was the right way for Ever8 to start a fight. And I see you over there cringing, Achilles. This match must go on.
Oh dear. 38 minutes in. We'll be able to hold on to this one.
Good decision by Malrong. Flash ult, no ability, no frames to react there. But Teddy, who doesn't have summoners, was guilty of being greedy to slap up kills. Shockwave is smart. Teddy lives longer than they would have expected. But if you notice, the big story here is Duel hopping his little heart out in the backline. Very nice flash to stop the CC from Snowflower coming in. Gets the maximum out of the Kalista that was donated to him by Jinair for a first pick. And after laning phase, Duel is legendary, 8-0-5. He's certainly the one who you can say is doing his damn best, but Jinair continue to get free objectives, and they just need a couple of kills to end the game. Not even an ace should end the game.
That's going to be double buffs coming through. Ever8 seems like they will be pushing forward to try to get prepped to contest this Baron, but they should be expecting it to come through any moment now. But absolutely insane from Duel. He's the one that has had some of the greatest struggles here on this squad and is definitely performing here in game number 1 despite the run of play overall, since they are still very considerably behind in gold. But Ever8 going for a bit of a last-ditch effort tactic here, waiting around the wall for somebody to poke their head forward.
I mean, all their inhibitors are up, so this is the one time in the game where if they can actually force a fight, an even 5v5 with no one taking down inhibitors, the game can actually change. Now, Jinair do not want to group up, have no incentive to play a 5v5. So right now, Jinair just want to focus on playing the side lanes, trying to get ahead in that fashion, because a 5v5 could actually lead to a sea change in the game.
All right, now Soan just going to go ahead and get some free time. On at the stop inhibitor, Ever8 a bit more interested in defending the rest of them, but now they have to be concerned about the minions. They're going to be pushing forward and onto that exposed Nexus. Second one getting ready to fall. Kuzan just does too much damage with the Trinity Force.
This is well played by Soan, who's just walking up, just auto-attacking down the Nexus for free.
Twisted Advance goes down onto him. He's getting ready to transform. Nature's Grass coming through, and Kuzan's on the backside, just backdooring this. They will all in on the Corki. They pump him back into the fountain, but Snowflower is here, and he'll go ahead and get those final auto attacks through, and Jinair, 40 minutes, 45 seconds, will win game 1. There's a big smile on Snowflower's face, but honestly, no one should feel good about this game, other than Duel.
That's true, and Rakan ending the game with an auto attack, just like Rakan stole away a Baron against Jinair in their last series, is so fitting for a game that was really the quintessential Jinair Greenwings versus Ever8 experience. He ends the game legendary. He doesn't die once, does Duel, and yet Teddy was similar positions last season, you'll remember, in a struggling Jinair team. We have to wait and see if Ever8 can be strong enough to take down the likes of CJ Entus and Kongdu, who do seem to be the 2 teams that will join them from the Challenger Series in that relegation tournament. when the games actually devolved into 5v5 fights, Ever8 looked very comfortable, but unfortunately, so much of the game had been surrendered, and that's really the only appropriate adjective, surrendered, to the side of Jinnae, who was very smart in their macro early. They were able to make mistake after mistake, hand over advantage after advantage, and yet still win the game.
Well, a bit of a anticlimactic finish there, you'd have to say, given all of the team fights that preceded the closing of that first game. But it was, in fact, just game one. We have at least one more on the way, maybe even two, because by the end of that, Ever8 were looking competitive, so very well could fight back and take game two for themselves.
Yeah, recreating that draft, but adjusting some of their early rotation, getting some more aggression out of their jungler. The game could have gone very different, as those late fights suggested.
Well, one thing I think we can be certain of is that Kalista will not be making its way back into the hands of Jewel. Was just too good, went unkilled throughout the entirety of that game and had 100% kill participation by the end of it. So honestly, I think he kind of deserves the MVP, even though Ever8 didn't come up with the victory. But we'll see what happens. We'll have game two coming up. We'll see who our game one MVP is going to be, as well as the damage charts, because they should have been